Yang kinchi widang idawa hurangwa sage suayang ratanang panitam nano samangati tatagatina idam pibute ratanang panitam etina sachena suati hotu. The emotions are noisy, aren't they? So it's very difficult to practice right speech when the mind is caught up with noisy, stormy emotions. And one thing that is a good rule to follow, try never to speak when you're angry, if possible. Or if you have to say something, you could say, I'm feeling very angry right now, just to give whoever you're speaking to a little bit of warning. I had a friend, a Dhamma practitioner, and she was very upset with her son one day. He was 10. She actually grabbed him and started to shake him. She was so angry. And he said to her, Mom, never touch anyone when you're angry. And she was ashamed that she had treated him like that. She could see the danger. And she could also see her son's wisdom. But words of anger are very destructive. So if you feel angry, don't share that. Just keep quiet if you can. Hold off and try to calm your mind. Try not to be in conversation from a place of anger. And certainly don't act from a place of anger. So what if you're in a conversation with somebody and there's a lot of angry words coming towards you? If you said something before and it wasn't well said, it was hurtful, and you recognize that, then you can't take it back. It's like throwing a bomb. It's exploded. You can't undo that. But you can try not to repeat it. And try to forgive yourself. If you see the damage that it causes, then we have to try to practice right speech, just to restrain these two lips. And that is practice. Instead of saying an insulting word, is to say, I'm so sorry, or find a skillful way to say something. If there can be a skillful word that you can say, let us try to be skillful together. And if the person doesn't hear it, you have to let go. Maybe you shouldn't be spending time with that person if you can avoid that. There are big choices to be made in the world and in life. And we are stubborn. We think that we can make everybody be nice or ourselves be nice, but it doesn't happen that way. And so when we're not able to act skillfully, we have to look at the causes and conditions leading to that. We have to choose our friends wisely. Maybe it's time to seek better company. And those are difficult decisions to make. But to protect our purity of speech and action, that has to be contemplated, that has to be examined. and make wise choices in who you spend time with, where you hang out, what kind of activities you engage in that would lead to being around people who treat you badly. A spiritual friend is a worthy friend. And anyone who doesn't contribute to your spiritual well-being, you can consider ways of not being with those people. Of course, if your job is counseling and caring for people that have suffered terribly and they're lashing out, or like teachers get abused a lot, very difficult situations. So you need protection, somebody else with you to help to navigate those situations. But we know that if you add fuel to the fire, then it'll get hotter. And with wrong speech, abusive speech, wrong language, unskillful language, the way to temper that and to put out the fire is to practice kindness, practice compassion. Even if one has to ask for forgiveness from someone that you may feel is abusing you, there's nothing wrong with asking or just saying, I'm sorry. Please forgive me if I've upset you. Sometimes it's good to try to be humble in the face of an aggressor. It's difficult for someone to aggress when there's no one to aggress to. But if we respond with aggression, then you have a war, you have a fight. So there are different strategies to follow, but they're hard to implement. They're challenging to implement. Leading a community, I've had to take the blame. I've been blamed and I fought against being blamed, and then I saw that didn't work, so I started taking the blame. It's my fault. I'm sorry. Because, in fact, when I thought about that afterwards, if I take the arrow out of the wound, then there's no wound. There would be no blame. So it's the way we hold on to a situation that exacerbates it. But if you're not holding on, you're letting it go, there's no situation anymore. But of course, then people also left. I couldn't avoid that. But taking the blame was a great teaching for me. Seeing that, well, what is blame anyway? If I practice right speech, I'm blameless. But if I'm still blamed, that's not my problem. People will either like you or not like you, but we can't control that. We can't control what's in other people's minds, but we can direct our own mind towards that which is skillful, even in the face of abuse. We don't have to accept the abuse. We don't have to speak against it. We can keep silent or say, I'm terribly sorry. The abuser may continue to abuse, but we just have to be careful how we face that. Put down our weapons as best we can. There is no perfection in samsara, but we try to bring our mind to a place that is free from anger, free from hatred, free from ill will, and see if that works somehow. That person might abandon us. Okay, goodbye. Sometimes engaging in the abuse is because of our attachment. It's like a negative attachment to the person we're involved with, and it isn't healthy. We have to think of our mental health, and we cannot control the mental health of other people. We just can't. But we can definitely bring our minds to a healthy posture again and again by not giving in to hateful thoughts, judgments, critical mind, but way on the side of compassion. First, we have to be compassionate to ourselves and forgive ourselves. We're not perfect, but we're moving towards perfection. It takes maybe lifetimes. So begin here and now. We are where we are, and there's patience. Don't cut corners, but don't jump ahead either. You know, you want to be enlightened, but we're where we are. So we make peace with that and we keep walking patiently. And eventually we begin to see, oh, I don't feel so upset when this or that happens. I'm not as upset as I used to be. Or we can be more content with things not working out. More peaceful with just, okay, this isn't working, try something else. During COVID, a lot of people had to get a taste of monastic life. But as soon as the pandemic eased, that has disappeared and people are back to getting as much as they can, squeezing as much out of the world as possible. There's a lot of restlessness and traveling and all restraint out the window. Restraint is a good thing, and to restrain the thoughts, the criticism in the mind, I'm not good enough or I'm not getting it right. It's not like going to college and taking courses and getting A's, B's, and C's and evaluating yourself. Not to be doing that. The spiritual path is like the blooming of a flower. You don't go measuring it at every new leaf coming out. We just kiss the joy as it flies. Have the joy of what you're learning and the process of learning it, rather than looking at the goal and thinking, oh, I'm so far from that. Because that's a judgment, it's criticism. But just know you're on the mountain and you're walking. And you're holding to the mountain. You're using all your equipment to stay on the mountain and not fall off. So you have to focus on where you are, but you know you're on the right mountain and you're going in a good direction. So you keep ascending. Sometimes you go downhill. Sometimes there's a crevasse, or you take a downhill slope to get to a higher elevation. But you don't judge it. Your intention is very much to free the heart. not to encumber it. So be very patient and treasure your patience. Don't let the critical mind usurp your beautiful effort and your perseverance or diminish the value of it. Don't lose your determination. Be curious and be courageous. It's not like a 4-year program where you can't wait to get your degree. That's not patience. That's an idea about what it is. But the thing about this path is to let go of any idea of what it is. You have to go into it day by day with a new amount of courage. But whatever it is, let that be a teaching. Today, I'm going to learn something. It might help me heal in a granular way. Second intention healing from underneath, from your belly, not from a gauze bandage that doesn't stick for very long. We're not trying to please anybody or live up to anybody's standard. The Buddha is not sitting there measuring us. This is like a blossoming, like an opening to the sun. And it happens invisibly. You don't even realize what is happening to you, and your mind is being illuminated. Sometimes people come here, and we've just had some huge challenge, and people drive up the driveway and get out of their cars, and they look around and say, "Oh, it's so peaceful here." I was, really? Of course it's peaceful, because our intention is to be peaceful with all conditions. It doesn't matter what they are. That is our healing intention. That's our underlying intention. And when people come here, they feel that. So we could be going through the worst drama ever. But what they feel is our courage, our patience, our willingness to stay with conditions and resolve this dilemma. We're not running away. We're staying put. And we're going to get through it somehow or other. So treasure your intention and stop evaluating it. Stop holding it up to the world to get approval or to contrive a self that doesn't exist. But take refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, and truth. Take refuge in that which will support the truth in you. And then your heart will shine.